Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, born and dead, saved by love, count my blessings from above. Though in darkness, have no fear, light will shine on those holding near. They know that sorrow they will pass. For I know in this life there will be something. But remember that love, yes it will. Love will reign. Yeah, love will reign. Yeah, in my heart I believe it. Love will reign. Love will reign. Oh, yeah, yeah. Have a vision, it's clear and plain. People living life, smiling again. Oh, see the children, they know no pain. Far from pressure, stress and strain. Oh, sorrow, they will pass. For I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. But remember that love, yes it will. I know, yeah, love will reign. Gotta believe it. In my heart, I truly believe sun will shine again. And love, I can hardly wait. In the light of the sun, we'll all be together. There'll be peace, peace, sweet peace. There'll be peace, happiness and joy forever. Oh, yeah. One day, someday, hate will be over and love will reign. They won't last, for I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. But in the end, love will reign. Yeah. Love will reign. Said it in His word. Weeping may endure the night. Love will conquer all. Love will win the fight. So don't be discouraged. Don't be dismayed. The darkest hour is just before the day. Hate will be crushed, fear will be gone, love will remain and go on and on. Though the road seems rough, my friend, we know how the journey ends. Oh, yeah. Love will reign. Love will reign. Oh, love will reign. Love will reign.
That's right. Love will reign. And I'm excited to be here with you during this holiday season. And whether you're watching me here live from the Love and Stuff community on Facebook or any of the love groups that watch too, on the Marcus Our Homes page, any of the groups there, on Twitch TV, Twitter, YouTube events, and TikTok and Instagram. If you're on any or all of these platforms, excited that you're here. Drop in the comments and say hello as we move forward into tonight's topic and show. First, let me say, as you can see, the tree is behind me. Merry Christmas to all of you. Merry Christmas to all of you. And happy holidays. Happy Kwanzaa, which today is the first day. Umoja and Hanukkah, those that you celebrate that, and New Year's. Happy holidays to all of you. I'm Marcus Holmes, the love activist. I am an advocate for you and me to experience a better love with God, with self, and with others. So click share, whether you're watching us on YouTube events, Twitch TV, TikTok, Instagram, of course, Facebook. I want you to click share and tag 5 of your closest connections, followers, subscribers, friends to join us, 5 of the more popular ones to join in tonight's discussion. Tonight does include some replay content, but it's content well worth it because it is all about relationships and how we prioritize those relationships in our life. So I'm excited to be here. Drop in the comments if you ate anything great this holiday season. I'd love to hear from you. I enjoyed a wonderful meal that was curated, cooked by my beautiful niece, my sweetest sweetie girl in the whole wide world. I helped out a little bit, but she was the main cook. And so we had rotisserie chicken, which was delicious. It's not as delicious as Boston Market, I must admit, but it was pretty good. She made an absolutely fantastic dressing. Her dressing is always good. This dressing was just delicious. And potatoes au gratin, I helped a little bit in that, but she did most of the work. String beans or green beans, depending on where you are around the world. Greens, and we had an amazing time, and I was so grateful to see her. Of course, she is now residing in Houston for law school. My nephew, my brother, it was great. Wonderful, fantastic holiday. I hope that you have the same, and if not, the celebration is not over because we want you to know you're included. You are not alone. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention. And just before we go into the first segment, I also, for those of you that are joining us via Restream, there is a way that you can help us support families. There are families we found out needed support. And if you scan that QR code, you can help those families. One is a single mother, well, soon to be engaged mother, I believe, who has 3 daughters, 2 twin girls that are 1 and a 6-year-old. We want to continue to support them. And then we learned of a second family whose the mother passed away at, I think, just 34 years old. And now the grandparents are taking on the responsibility of rearing the 5 children. So we don't want to just be a blessing to them during Christmas time. We want to be a blessing to them all year long. And so join us in supporting these families. And of course, go to our Shopify store and purchase anything. We will ensure that a percentage of those proceeds go to helping those families and families similar to them. All right. So click share right now and drop in the comments. Where are you around the world, the globe, the country? I was talking to someone from TikTok who is on TikTok from Zambia. So I know it's about 3 a.m. there. Thank you so much for staying up. I don't know if I could stay up late, but I'm glad that you're up for whatever reasons. And I hope that you will click share in your community. And those that are on Facebook and everywhere, please click share as we go to this topic that I think really speaks to what our priorities are around our families. And I want you to chime in as you're hearing this content, and I'm going to join you in the comments just to be able to ensure that we are having a robust conversation about love's balance, spouse or children, who takes the front seat. I hope that you will enjoy this, and I hope that you will click share and drop in the comments your thoughts. I hope that I hope that for you, Jesus is the reason for the season. And I hope that you've overlooked the commercialization of Christmas and are able to hone in on the good news that Jesus Christ was given for us, that he was the best expression of love that we have seen to date. And so I hope that in that spirit, you had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Christmas. Yes, we can let it rip. Thanks, Carmen, for your anxiousness to get started. Marcus Johnson has joined us. Thank you for coming. Patricia Taylor has joined us. Thank you for coming to Love and Stuff. So this topic, again, straight out of the inbox, I was hoping, as I said last week, to have Pandit Dasa, who is a mindfulness expert, to come and talk to us a little bit about self-care. He's still enjoying some of the holidays himself, having traveled home to India, and he'll just be getting back settled into New Jersey. And so I hope to have him next week. And then after that, Kenyatta Love was written a book, who's a part of our Love and Stuff community here. Also want to have her on to discuss her very interesting experience and autobiographical account of her relationships. I think it will be wonderful to hear from her. Ernest Evans has joined us. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff, and Merry Christmas, Patricia. So straight out of the inbox is a topic that I think will require all of you to not necessarily put on your thinking caps, but to really share from a candid space, I hope, about the topic. And the topic is who is first. Should your spouse, Tanisha Holmes has joined. Thank you for coming to Love and Stuff. Should your spouse be first, or should your children be first? And does it make a difference if that spouse came after the children or before the children? So in the relationship order, should it be man and wife, wife and husband, and then children? Or do children get a higher level? Amber Dior has joined. Leonard Gowdy has joined. Clarence Be Prepared Sanders has joined. Thank all of you for coming to Love and Stuff, and Merry Christmas. Tanisha Holmes says first at what? First of priority. Should a wife put her husband before her children? Should a husband put his wife before his children? Or does it depend? If you have a husband, or if you're engaged to be married, should that other spouse to be, have the expectation that he or she will be put first before the children? Or do we put children before spouses? And if we do, is that appropriate? Is it appropriate to put your children in the hierarchy of priority higher than your spouse, or your spouse higher than your children? That's the Love and Stuff question today. So, I mean, we have married folks, we have divorcees, we have widowers that are in here, we have single folks, we have single folks in relationships, we have blended families, products of marriage and not. I'm putting this question to you. Should, Carmen is first out the gate saying your spouse should come before your children. So Carmen, currently, I think you have 2 adult sons and some wonderful grandchildren, a brand new grandchild. Are you saying that once you got married to your spouse, that he would be first before those sons? His needs would be prioritized above those sons and grandchildren? Or is there some give and take? I want to make sure everybody can hear me. And everybody, I know you're thinking about your responses, but you got to actually type them because I can't hear your minds. Does the spouse come before the children? Carmen says, yes, absolutely. So yes. Tanisha said, is this a thing? I'm asking because I've never run into this. Single, married, divorce, and dating. I thought the spouses go before children. I don't know if it's a thing, Tanisha, but it is straight out of the inbox. It's a question. There is a position that your children come first, especially if they came first in the relationship. So, what, you know, if you were divorced, Tanisha, you're divorced, you have children, would your new husband get a different level of priority? How does that work? Essie says, I believe every situation would determine who came first, but generally the spouse would come first. Well, Clarence, good question. What does the Bible say? Tell us. What do you say the Bible says? And for those people that are in our community that don't follow the Bible, then what should we be telling them? Essie says, I believe every situation. Oh, I said that. So Essie, can you give me an example now that you are, if I can say now that you're divorced, would your next husband, if you were to remarry, come before your children? Carmen said this is a pecking order. Kind of help me out. Ivo has come. Thank you, Ivo, for coming to Love and Stuff. Valencia says, when the two become one, there is a priority position. Okay, so I think, Valencia, I think you're speaking to Clarence's point that you could say to Clarence, a man leaves his mother and father, or father and mother, and cleaves unto his wife, and the two shall become one. And so that sets the priority. Would that be a good interpretation or explanation of that scripture to answer what we've heard Clarence's question? I want to make sure we do answer the questions. Darcia Sanders has joined. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff. Hey, Ivo. No, we came into the marriage both having children, and we made time for one another, and we prioritized our children together. So it was never, was it equal, Tanisha? Was it equal prioritization, or was there a clear pecking order, like Carmen said? Carmen says God, spouse, children, others. Okay. Valencia says yes. So Clarence, do you feel like that answered your question, or do you need book and chapter, scripture and verse? Because I'm sure Valencia can help us get to it. Kamisha Walton Jackson has joined us. Thank you for coming back. We had some technical difficulties, but we're back on the map. As a matter of fact, it made me think of somebody else. Somebody tagged Keith Hutchins. He was here, and I wanted to get his input. See if I can invite him while I'm talking to you. I don't want to mess up and do too many things at once, because that's how I jack stuff up. Crystal clear. Okay, great. Valencia says yes. Okay. Essie says yes. My new spouse generally would come first because the standard of authority must be set and kept to have peace and order in the home. Children are first priority. Wow. Okay, Sean. Can you articulate that? That's kind of where the inbox is, but I didn't want to put it out there that the inbox is saying their children come first. But I want to hear from you, Sean. Why are you saying children are the first priority over the spouse? Lena Kelso has joined. Thank you for coming to Love and Stuff. Sean says small children can't fend for themselves. Great point. Tanisha says no clear pecking order. We became one, and we put our children's need above either of our own collectively. How did that work for you? Do you think that Tanisha, is an absolute truth, that it should work that way? You put your children's needs above your own needs? Is that the tendency that we have, that parents have, especially single parents? The tendency that you have to put your children above your own needs? Is that what you should do? And then should you put those needs above your spouse's needs? And does it matter if the spouse and significant other? What if you're not married, but you've been together 10 years? And you got a blended family. He has kids, you have kids. You're the Brady Bunch without the marriage license. Should you prioritize him above your kids and his kids? Should he prioritize you above your kids and his kids? Coley Cole has joined. Thank you for coming to Love and Stuff. Merry Christmas. Ivo says, I don't think there is a pecking order in this sense. If everyone is functioning properly, then it isn't about rank, but responsibility. Order matters when it's time to take responsibility, not when it's time to be important. It is all relative. Okay? Thank you for that. Valerie says, spouse first. A married man is to love his wife as Christ loved the church. Wife is to submit to husband. The principle is that a woman's husband is second only to God. Okay, you're helping, adding to what Valencia said and answering even more crystal clearly to Clarence's question from Ephesians 5:20 and 25. And if you got a second value, you might cut and paste that so we can see the actual scripture. That would be helpful for those. And it's not, of course, to offend. We believe the Bible in its entirety is a roadmap, though we might detour as often as every exit. We believe it's the roadmap, and I respect others who don't share that opinion. That may be in the room. Nicole Black has joined. Merry Christmas. Valencia says, there is a danger when the children come first in consideration throughout their lives. Of course, those who have small children have to care for them, but, and I'm not getting the rest of your after the but, Valencia, but it'll come back to me. Yes, the need of the child is normally priority, but I'm not saying see more for yours. Is that, nope, that says remover in bed, so I'm not getting that. Okay. Parents work together, and for as long as they're one, then their care should be the same. Okay, good point. Tanisha says, when I was engaged and we lived together again, we both put the needs of our children ahead of our own. Does that work well, Tanisha, is my question. What's the topic, Nicole? It's whether or not your husband would come first or your children. Who is the first in the order of priority? Cheryl Swacker O'Neill, thanks for coming back. We have some technical difficulties. Merry Christmas. We are to submit to each other, though. I believe that you are to submit to each other. Does it say that you're to submit to your children? Is there a pecking order? I guess is what I'm asking. And I am not one to denigrate the rights of women in relationships. I appreciate that, Ivo, for that clarity. I think I said the topic, Nikki. I hope you heard me. But the topic is, Nikki, you're going to get married to Reverend Brown. Should Reverend Brown be before the little black kids that you might have? Or once you and Reverend Brown have kids, I guess they'll be caramel, black and brown. I'm making stuff up. If you have children, who will be the high priority? Your husband or the children? The highest. When the needs of the children, given the circumstances, creates a wedge between the spouses, then there is a need to value the marriage because the children will leave and that relationship must survive. Great point, Valencia. And I think it's speaking to some of what's going on in the inbox relationship, at least the discussion of whether or not children can present a problem in a marriage where one spouse puts the needs of those children equal to or above the need of the spouse. Essie says, within reason, the couple has to be in a good place in order to take care of the children. Good point. Dolores, aka Michelle Archibald, has come back. Thank you for coming to Love and Stuff. And Merry Christmas. Carmen says, God placed man as the head, so quite naturally he would come first. No one is saying disregard the needs of the children, but the answer will always be my husband. And so should the wife come first for the man? Darcia says your spouse should always be the priority. If the union has been ordained and led by God, come on, ordained. Come on, led. Each partner will prioritize each other and work together to ensure the children's needs are met. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Tom says, so does that mean to neglect the child over the husband's needs? Good point. Do you neglect the child, or do you find another way to prioritize the child's needs? I think it's an equally good question, Sean, but I like your question. So does that mean to neglect the child over the husband's needs? Valerie, what do you say? Darcia, what do you say? Valencia, what do you say? I'm sorry. As you can see, I got a little people. Husband, and then when you have kids should be the main priority. Nikki, tell me why. Okay. For us, it worked. It only became a problem when we neglected one another when the children weren't around. So when you say when the children weren't around, it kind of, maybe it doesn't imply that, was there ever a conflict of priority when the children came back around? Let me say it that way. Nicole says, I think it's equal. Ivo says, when there is a stalemate, I believe it is more effective for women to take the lead with submission. Okay, 1 Peter 1:1-6. Okay, but adults who do not value the needs of children don't succeed in marriages anyway. Sometimes the kids need to hear the word no, and sometimes their feelings and perspective is the priority. It depends on the situation. Okay, I can appreciate that. Thank you. Arnaldo says, I have 3 children, 2 daughters who are 18 and 12, son who is 7. Too many times I'm run from women who are raising sons as their husbands. No balance and understanding of the order. If and when I marry, my spouse is first. Our marriage provides for the growth of the children. Are there other brothers or sisters who agree with Arnaldo, which I think this is a great point as well. I think some great points and perspectives have been raised. And so here's a single father who is saying he's run into women who treat their sons, and some single women do, as like he's the man of the house. He's the husband. So how do you come into that relationship and maintain your lordship or kingship, and not lord over to rule, but be in the priest position when there is a mini priest? I love this topic, and I love the replay content. And I love even more that some of you who were there originally are responding to my prompt. So Carmen Evans is here, and I'm interested to know if host and podcaster extraordinaire for Detroit Table Talk. And I'm interested to hear, I'm reading some of her comments that she says, no, God comes before the wife. There is an order. And pretty similar to what she said at the original of this. I'm interested to hear more from her and from you, those of you that are watching on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Instagram, and of course on Facebook Live tonight. I'm very interested to hear from you about love's balance, spouse or children, who takes the front seat? What relationship or relationships are prioritized? Is the marriage prioritized over the children? Does it matter whether or not the spouses are the familial or blood biological parents of those children, or what happens when there's a single mother with 3 sons and then a man comes in to the family? Are those sons prioritized over the husband? Same for father. If there's a father with 3 girls, a father with 2 boys and a girl, whatever mix of children, if he remarries and has a new wife, does that relationship take precedent over the children? I want to hear from you as we continue with some replay content from a wonderful inbox that is centered around whether or not this mother should put her children before her new spouse. Now, does it matter whether or not it's a new spouse coming into an existing family? Does that matter? Does that change the situation for anybody? Very interested to hear from you. Hello, Betty. Hello, Key. Hello, Maz. Hello, Angelique, Dylan, and those, and Carmen, and others that have joined us that's on TikTok, but on Facebook. Thank you those that have joined us. Sheila Jordan, my fave. Thank you for joining us. Happy Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year. And I hope that you will click share. Tag 5 of your followers, connections, subscribers, or friends. 5 of the more popular ones to join in this discussion as to whether or not you would put your marriage or your spouse above your children, or would you put your children above your spouse? Thank you. Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoyed yours. As I was saying at the outset, Sheila, I had real food, real laughs, real peace, real joy, real family, real fun. And I hope that you have, and all of you, I hope that you experienced that yesterday if you celebrate Christmas. And I hope that if you don't, that you come to know what the Christmas season is all about, and whether or not you have come into a relationship with the quintessential love, that you'll come to understand what that love is that we celebrate. Also in Kwanzaa, Umoja today, coming together in unity among our people and our race. And of course, there will be 7 days of Kwanzaa, and New Year is coming. So click share and tag some folks to join us. Thank you so much, Sheila. I'm glad you did. Love you too. Love you much. Hello, Nicole Baldwin, one of our, your timing is just almost perfect, Nicole, because I was going to a quick break and showing a quick video. Those of you that are on TikTok, you'll have to see it a different way, but this, I'm going to make sure we get it there. Nicole Baldwin has some amazing jewelry, and you want to just see, I hope I have it. Yep. Just this quick commercial for Nicole, and I hope that you will consider supporting her.
Good times. These are the good times. Leave your cares behind.
Leave your cares behind and get the good times. That's some great jewelry. And you can reach Nicole Baldwin here on Facebook, on YouTube, and she's going to drop in the comment so that you can join her. She's been a partner with the Love and Stuff community, and we love her here, and we love what she's doing with her jewelry, and it's amazing. So we want you to consider that if you're doing any after the holiday shopping. Don't spend all of the bucks on the kitty. Get you some of this beautiful jewelry, men and women. She does fantastic work. Thanks, Nicole, for being a partner to us in the Love and Stuff community and such an important part of our community. All right, going back to the topic, we're talking about love's balance. Do you put your children before your spouse before your children? Does it matter whether or not your spouses come into your life after the children? What are the dynamics when you are prioritizing relationship and trying to find balance. Well, I want you to click share right now because we're going into the second segment of the pre-recorded content. I'm going to join you in the comments because I want to hear from you, just like we've heard from Carmen saying, God, the man put God first, then wife. And I want to hear, do you think differently depending on whether or not that husband or wife was already in the family? So I want to hear from you on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch TV, Twitter, Instagram. I haven't heard from anybody on Instagram yet. So drop in the comments and let me make sure that we're going live on Instagram. And wherever you're watching on Facebook, where we are emanating from, I hope that you will click share, tag 5 of your friends, subscribers, followers, connections, 5 of the more popular ones to talk about love's balance. We are excited about having the opportunity to share this content with you in the hopes that you will think about what you prioritize, and maybe it will inform that priority as well. All right. How does that work? Great position and point. I hope we aren't taking you off your task as moderator with all these comments markers. No, that's what I want. Sometimes it takes us away from the main point, but it informs the person who dropped the idea in the inbox who thought it would be good discussion. And then it informs other people about their perspectives and positions, because you see something that I may have never seen, Iva, or someone else brings a perspective. And I love that about Love and Stuff, because it helps us to think about our perspective, even though a lot of people come with a pretty resolute position on their perspective. Sometimes if you're open to hearing another perspective, it might make you say, that's why I did that, or that might work differently, or So I appreciate that. Keith Hutchins, thanks for coming back. We had some technical difficulties, but I'm glad you came back. Iva says, 1 Peter 3:1-6, my bad, okay. Lady Veronica Mahone has joined us. Thank you for coming back to Love and Stuff. Merry Christmas. Iva said, I see a lot of my friends treating their sons as husband. It isn't healthy at all. And it's difficult. Wouldn't it be difficult for a man to enter into that relationship and be the man in the relationship? Because now the son has a false sense of his authority. It could happen with daughters too, right? A dad that's in love with his daughter, or I don't want to say in love with, but treats her queenly in the absence of a queen. She might rival the queen when she comes. Darcia asked a great question. She says, why would you need to neglect the child to prioritize your spouse? I believe the husband and wife should be working together to identify the needs of the family. Excellent point. Anybody want to add a question or respond to that? Carolyn Allen Henderson has joined. Thank you for coming back to Love and Stuff. I tagged you earlier, but we had some technical difficulties. Kenyatta Roxanne has joined. Thanks for coming back to Love and Stuff, and Merry Christmas. I think, Darcy, you raised a good question. I think earlier another great point was raised, but I want to talk to you and you to talk back a little bit about this neglect. Does it require the children to be neglected, to put the spouse as the priority, or put the marriage as the priority? Is that important for children to see? Is that important to model out before your children, the order of relationships, especially someone said earlier, I think it was Carmen said, God, spouse, children, other things. Is it important for your children to see that? See you putting God first, see you putting your spouse first, see you then putting children first. Is that good to model out before them? Is that a need that helps them to understand the order of family, the order of life, the order of relationships? Iva says, I agree with Darcia. Tanisha agrees with Darcia. Merry Christmas, Roxanne. Balance. No neglect should happen. Understanding and communication key. When adults are adults, then the discussion should include and even collectively prioritize the children. The children need to be children. I'm going to read that again, Valencia. The children need to be children, even though you all may have already read it. The children need to be children, and how they are raised dictates how they conduct themselves as adults in relationships where children are involved. And as you know, Autumn is not my daughter, but I feel like she is my daughter. I sometimes have to, in my mind, she's 19, but sometimes when I'm having conversations, I'm like, okay, Autumn, leave the room, because there are just discussions I don't think that children need to have, that adults need to have, even though she's not a child. She's a budding, blooming, beautiful young lady, but having helped to rear her and shape her, it's a order of priority about things that are adult that I didn't involve her in until it was time to become adult. And still sometimes I have to remind myself. Arnaldo says, my daughters are my daughters, but are in no way, shape, or form the women of my home. That spot is vacant, and whoever fills it will not have a battle to figure out where their place is. That's good for you, Arnaldo. I know some brothers who have daughters, and that daughter is treated like the queen instead of the princess. So every queen that comes is considered a rival because the order is kind of off. You follow what I'm saying? So I applaud you, but I just wanted to throw that in there. Sean says, children are very intelligent as it relates to their feelings and emotions. I agree. I don't disagree with that. When someone comes in and it changes, most of the time, that's where the turn of character of the child begins. That's a good point. So many feel as if prioritizing one means at all times. If two are on one accord, the prioritization becomes a focus on the need and not just the want. And maybe the prioritization is at all times, Tanisha. Some think that because it's overarching. It's an overarching priority. It's not episodic, as I think is what I was trying to point to an earlier comment that you were saying. It's not just when the children are there, when the adults aren't. It's the whole concept and theory of the order of relationships. And so then you then place in the priority based on that order, those things in the relationship, and work out the nuances and kinks. So I think it is an overarching prioritization about relationships that are important, that sets order. And it's not as episodic as it feels that maybe your comment was saying. I'm not so sure, though. Stephen Anderson has joined us, and you know I know your name. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff. Merry Christmas. That's an issue to me because if a couple has a mature marriage, will be no neglect of anyone. Good point. Mr. Hernandez, I'm so glad you joined because I think you will have some great add to this discussion greatly, and I love to hear the brothers jump in and add. Ivo says, in general, it is a fault of the Western Church to confuse issues of rank and order with issues of authority. If the rank and file is about who is taking responsibility versus who is wielding power, there will be fewer people vying for power. It was never about exacting power over other people, but bearing the responsibility of loving other people. Authority is honorable in how it is expressed through selfless love. Great point. Murdy Kearney has joined us. I miss you and love you, and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, Stephen Anderson. We're talking about the order of priority, straight from the inbox. Should it be your spouse or your children? Does it matter if you had children before you had the spouse? Does it matter if it's your spouse or significant other? What's the order of priority in relationships? Should it be the man and wife relationship and then the children, no matter how blended, steps, halves, all of that? The husband and wife, steps, children, all children, full children. I hate to say full children, but you know, the kids say a whole child, your whole child. Or should it be the children first, depending on their needs, their priorities, their levels? That's what we're discussing. And I want some of the brothers to chime in along with the sisters, because I think some interesting perspectives across the board. And as I'm waiting for those brothers and sisters to chime in, does it matter if the couple is married? What if they are living together? Does the order of priority change if you have children and she has children, or you have children and he has children, and you're not yet married, but you're living together? Does the order of priority change if you're not married? Tanisha says, I could not see myself with someone who would ask me to put his desire to hold my time and attention against the needs of either of our children. I have thrown away men because of their desire to put me ahead of their children. If we are meant to be, we'll be without setting his or my children aside. So you feel that him putting you first or you putting him first, if you feel that there's a competing priority, is grounds to throw away. Interesting point. Interesting point. Okay. Ivo says, nope, the needs of children and adults are separate things. People with children and relationships have to attend to both. So the needs of children and adults are separate things. Could they be the same things? Because in Tanisha, she's saying she couldn't see herself with someone who asked her to put his desire to hold time and attention, which adults and children both need, aside. So when you say they are separate things, do you mean you approach them separately? You give a separate attention to them? Or, Ivo, can you see how they could be in competition in some family structure relationships, married and unmarried? Can you see how that could be something that people would compete for? I am curious. Okay. Mao has joined us. Thank you for coming to Love and Stuff with a Christmas gift. I knew that you would be away from us for a few weeks. He has been one of our co-hosts, and he is back, and I'm grateful. Carmen Evans, if you're living together, the order should not change, only when you both live in different locations, okay? So when you live in different locations, it should be priority based on house. Is that how you're saying? Tanisha says, him putting me ahead of his children, that is unacceptable. Okay, all right. No child needs from me the same as a man would need from me. He might not, well, here's what I'm saying. A child would need love, attention, and affection, not in the same way a man would, but those same things they need that a man does. You follow what I'm saying? So no, they don't need the same kind of love, the same kind of affection, the same kind of attention, but they do need love, attention, and affection. That's what I meant by same or similar. So can you see how that could be in competition for some people? Latice Douglas has joined us. It says, I'm listening to a lot of different comments from different people here. I believe your parents' job and the relationship of a parent being a husband and a wife is the molding children to be better people than they are. For someone has to leave the man, has to be the man, the woman has to be the woman, and the children have to be the children. There is no other order. Okay. So I think you're saying in order to shape them to be who they should be, the man has to be the man, the woman has to be the woman, the children have to be the children. And that's the order. And that's the priority. Can you see where that might be a conflict for some people who have had children or new with children or small children, why they might see that differently? Letitia, did I pronounce that correct? Wells Hampton. I apologize if I didn't. Thank you for coming back. We had technical difficulties, as you may have guessed. Ivo says all humans need some of the same things, but I don't see them as competing. Okay. Can you see how they could be competing? I guess is my question, Ivo. Good evening, Kamal. So glad to have you. Arnaldo says, I think we have to look at certain situations. If we are hungry, then my kids come first. Okay. If it's about finding time to spend with my spouse, then the kids have to also respect that we have to have adult time. It's about balance and understanding certain situations. Okay, great point, Arnaldo. Thank you for that clarity. Valerie says, I see a lot of comments saying that putting a spouse first is not neglecting your children. Is a strong marriage sets as an example of a healthy relationship. If children see you honoring your spouse with the number one spot, they feel a love and security that can come in no other way. Great point, Valerie. Thank you for that. Are we simply talking about the needs or the wants? Well, Carolyn, great question. And I want, if you will share with us, how do you determine what's a need and what's a want? How do you determine if your child needs more attention or if he or she just wants more attention? How do you determine the needs and the wants? Garcia said, I think it's important for children to see the authoritative order of God. Come on now. It's equally important for the children to see a unified front in their parents, which I think is so important. And sometimes it's so lacking. Children often play the sides or take advantage of disorder. Good point, especially in the case of blended families. Successful marriages are fertilized with great reference to let no man put asunder. Come on, asunder. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Great, great, great. I can't hashtag all that, Darcy, but got it. So you say this is not applicable if the couple was not married. So Darcia, speak to me about what would you see the order of an unmarried blended family? What would the order be like? I mean, from your premise, that's disorder, but that aside, what should the order look like? Stephen Anderson said, attend to both. However, the two adults must build a strong unit because when the children grow up and get on their own, the two adults will have only themselves to attend to. Come on now. Only themselves. There's no competition. I'm sorry, I lost the last part. Val says, putting your spouse first does not diminish the love the love you feel for your children, I think you're saying. It enhances it as long as you show love to them as well. Great point. Tanisha says there is a different love that one feels for a child than feeling for a spouse or partner. Giving of yourself and your time is much different. I agree it's different, Tanisha, but I think it is still a kind of love. And as children are learning, they may not know the difference in those kinds of love unless you place some order to it, right? So they could easily find themselves competing and not understanding that. At least from where I sit, I could see where a child could be competing with a spouse. It shouldn't happen, but children will try it. And I think that there has to be some kind of order defined because it helps them to have order in their life, which I think is what we've heard throughout this Love and Stuff communities. It's been echoed several times. Kamal says, thankful to be here. Happy New Year's, love and stuff. Thank you, sir. Ivan says, I think Tanisha is hitting on the main point, which is that no one should be dating or marrying anyone who isn't devoted to their children's healthy upbringing first and foremost. I can only see these things as competing when the children are treated like peers instead of people who need to be nurtured, guided, and restricted. I still see an opportunity and area for competition. Still, because the order is changing when another person comes in, if the children are already, right? When children are born into a healthy relationship, they see that order from day one. But if there is a single parent with children and then a spouse comes into that, there was already some established order or disorder. And if it was order and it was a healthy order, there still is this new aspect, this new facet that has to be defined, I think. And so I can see where there could be competition. I love this topic and I love your comments. I'm in the comments with you, whether you're watching me on TikTok, YouTube events, Twitch TV, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, Facebook. And Carmen, Evan, as you can see, this is some replay content. So Merry Christmas to you. Happy Kwanzaa, Umoja. Happy Hanukkah for those of you that celebrate that and coming up on a happy new year. Click share, tag 5 of your closest friends, followers, subscribers to join us in Love's Balance, spouse or children, who takes the front seat. Carmen, I dropped the link in the comments, so the coach is trying to call you in. So click on that link so that you can join me. And I want to talk to you briefly because the comments that you had in this replay are the same as it appears in the comments that you have now. And so I'm interested to talk to you. And so write in the comments. I hope you see that link. Click on that link so that you can join me right now. While she's doing that, I want to remind you that we have a family, two families that we want to help to support, not just at Christmas time, but throughout the year. And so as you feel led, as your heart is open, please support families. This link will take you to a Shopify store gift box. It's a virtual box. You're just depositing $5, $10, or $10, $20, or $50. There is a mother of 3 who has 2 twin 1-year-olds and a 6-year-old, all girls. And there are grandparents whose daughter passed away at the age of 34 and left 5 children. We want to certainly help them, both of those families, and not just at Christmas time, throughout the year. So if you feel so led, scan that and support us as we help those families. And we'll tell you more ways that you can help, because clothes, food, and other things, resources, are things that we need to bundle and partner with others that are already in this work with Rashida the Glam, Dr. Williams, and others that are in these families. We want to partner with them to help families, support families. So that link is there for that. And of course, I want to highlight just another one. I'm giving Carmen a second to join me. Another one of our wonderful partnerships that we have with folks in and around the Love and Stuff community, Power Money Tools LLC is an outstanding business that is connected to the Love and Stuff community. Christina Smith is the proprietor, and she has helped many people get their finances on track, their credit repaired, and to begin to save for their financial future.
Welcome to Powerful Money Tools LLC. At Powerful Money Tools, we are here to prepare for your future. We want to talk about financial freedom. Financial freedom is budgeting, credit building, and also financial education. So once again, welcome to Powerful Money Tools LLC. We can't wait to help you in your financial future.
Powerful Money Tools LLC. Christina can't wait to help you in your financial future. So follow her at Powerful Money Tools LLC across all platforms. Okay. I'm looking for Carmen to join us. I don't see her here, so I'm going to keep going. If she should pop in, we'll double back to her. Those of you that are watching on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch TV, Twitter, and of course, all the love groups that we're connected on Facebook, we want to encourage you to click share, tag 5 of your closest friends, connections, subscribers, or followers, 5 of the more popular ones to join us in the discussion. Love's balance, spouse or children who take the front seat in priority. And we're interested to hear your thoughts as well as we go to our next segment, which is sharing more information about this wonderful replay. Stay tuned. And a need for clarity and prioritization. Valencia says there is no covering when there is no covering. Children do not need to feel like the boyfriend takes priority. This will result in issues. When a person is involved with you, the order of priority is based on the depth of the relationship. Good point. Uncommitted relationships do not trump children. Marriage, the mystery of oneness, provides the covering for the priority. Come on. Come on, mystery of oneness. I got to hashtag that. There are times when a child's needs come first, but not continually and not at the expense of you and the spouse. There is a spiritual hierarchy of authority ordained by God. And so, Val, you and Ivo are teetering on the teeter-totter because I was saying authority and responsibility different. Are you saying in the spiritual hierarchy that authority and responsibility have some similarity or difference? Say that, Ivo. If a person had moved their child into the spot of a romantic companion, that is where the question of prioritization comes into play. Not the only place. I disagree with you both. That is more than just finding priority. That's missing the role as a parent. Yeah, I still think there's a dynamic when the child is not used to being with a second spouse. When that second spouse comes, there is the opportunity for the child to feel that he or she is competing, even in a healthy relationship, because that other spouse has not been there, is my point. To White Stewart, I didn't see you join us, but thank you for coming to Love and Stuff. I think this is your first time. Welcome to Love and Stuff. Many folks don't understand the order because they don't read the Word of God, so they argue the order. Order, explanation, and constancy, or consistency. Maybe you're saying constancy. I don't know, Stephen. Thank you, sir. Good point, Marcus. New order, new facet. That's all I'm saying on that part. Thank you for that, though. Competition comes into play when people are not in their proper roles. It has been said adults are adults and children are children. But what if you're a single parent? I don't think you're hearing me, Tanisha. A single parent does not have another adult in the relationship. So when that person comes into the relationship, there was no one in that role. So we can't speak about a proper role when mother was playing mother and father, or father was playing father and mother. If it's only one adult and a second one enters into the relationship via covenant or not, there is the opportunity, is what I'm trying to get you to see, that there could be competition. Even though the children know their roles with the one parent, they don't get how that parent now divides time or responsibility or authority or order because there's another person to be considered. You follow me? That is the parent's chance to explain adult relationships. Understood. And there could be competition. That's all I'm saying. Darcia says, God, mom, children, or God, dad, children. God is the source of a single parent supply. Come on, single parent supply from God. Once married, the husband is the source as he seeks God for direction. I know it may be difficult to reorganize the order of authority. However, it is necessary. It is necessary. Tabitha Goodner has joined us. I didn't see you come in. Merry Christmas. Very Merry Christmas. Glad you came. Keisha Bryant has joined all the way from elementary school. Welcome to Love and Stuff, and happy holidays to you. Thank you for coming to Love and Stuff. Nisha says, I'm a single parent. I've never had any issue with my children knowing or feeling displaced. Okay. Okay. Waverly Bumbry has joined. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff. Jerome Rutledge came. Thank you, sir. We had some technical difficulties earlier. Gentlemen, we're talking about the order of priority in relationships. Should the spouse come first or the children? Does it matter if it's a significant other and not a spouse? Does it matter if both of you had children before you got married and it's a blended family? Who comes first, spouse or children? I'm hoping that these gentlemen will chime in, or Arnaldo has. I'm looking for El Bakai to chime in, looking for some of the other gentlemen to chime in. Some who are married, some who are single, some who are divorced, some who have been remarried. Chime in. Would your spouse come first in the overarching theory and concept of priority? Or would your children come first? Or is it based on circumstance? Is it circumstantial or episodic? Arnaldo says, but that single adult has to prepare themselves for that person. By the way, I just like when people talk about they play both parents. Fathers are fathers. They cannot play mothers. Mothers are mothers and cannot play the role of fathers. Well, interesting point you raise. I don't believe a father can be the mother, but I believe he does play a nurturing role of the mother. A woman cannot teach her son how to be a man, but I do think she plays the role of protector and provider that might normally be ascribed to the father. So I agree with you in part, and I disagree with you in part, because while a woman can't be the father, she certainly has played the father role. And while a man can't be the mother, he certainly has played the mother role, aspects of the mother role, and being nurturing and those kind of things. So, but I get your point. They can't be both parents. They are still a single parent, but they're covering more than just that one parent ground. They got to be the provider and protector. Even though they don't have a manual, they don't have a, they have a Bible, but they don't have, they don't have another book that says, okay, this is what a mother does to help raise a son. But they do, and some women have done the very best that they can in trying to play that role. Your point about authority, Marcus, authority in Christ is not primarily about power, because the Bible and Christianity are more about presence than principle. Power and rank tend to focus on principle, where love tends to focus on presence. If we are committed to being present for both the spouse, significant other, and the child, then no one should feel slighted to whom much is, I think you're going to say, given much is required. Okay. Sorry about the typos. That's okay. It happens to us all. The White Stewart says, my wife come first. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your chime in there. And I hear your point and appreciate it. I was just trying to kind of juxtapose your point to Valerie's point, because it seems almost like you all were diametrically opposed, but really I see there's a seamless line that connects your points to me from where I'm sitting. Kimberly Gresham Cook has joined, and I think you can add some relevant information to this. We're talking about who comes first, your spouse or your children. Merry Christmas, by the way. Valerie says, when single parent marries, God, order, and authority does not change. If you need counseling to do it, make it happen for a healthy marriage and a thriving household. Okay. Good point. Valencia says, as one who has dealt with the blended family, it is important that parents be open and honest with the child and make sure that the person to be included has non-threatening encounters that build relationship. When a person reaches commitment when a person reaches commitment, but the child is taken by surprise, and no, I'm not saying everyone you date meets the children, but you shouldn't reach forever. Thank you. And they are at where did this come from? When that happens, competition is imminent. Okay, thank you for that. I think I am following it. I agree about that seamless line. I saw it too. Dwight Stewart, if a wife is not submissive, she won't relinquish her spot of being the head if she has been single for so long. When she gets remarried, she won't give him the spot. She will put the kids first. It seems, and I can't see the rest of that, Dwight. I think it's going to come to me, hopefully. Sandy Hudson has joined us. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff, and Merry Christmas. So we got some varied opinions from men and women about whether or not the spouse comes first, whether or not the children should come first. Okay, I thought I saw some more comments coming. Robert Douglas has joined us. Thanks for coming back to Love and Stuff, and Merry Christmas to you. We're talking about what's the priority of relationships? Does the spouse come first, or do the children come first? Can it be both? Is it a competition? Can it ever be a competition? Is it a different kind of love? We've heard so many different comments today, and I think all of them are some great comments because this topic comes straight from the inbox, where we want to know, is there a problem with putting your children at the same level, below or above that spouse? And what if those children came before the spouse? What if you are a single mother, never married and are marrying the first time, or you're a divorcee or widower or widow and marrying again? Do you put that spouse above those children, and how does that work? What if you're not married? You're not in the traditional covenant, as, you know, again, this is free thinking. Not everyone thinks that a marriage is the covenant ordained by God. And we respect that you think that, and we disagree with your thoughts, but we respect that you think that. Some of the folks that I know that are here. So we respect that. But does that make a difference in the order of priority? If you are not married, should you be putting another man or woman before your children? Jawan Ingram has joined. Karen Lewis has joined. Iva says, why does love have to have rank and file at all, though? Why can't we just love, period? Is there an order of love? Is there, are there kinds of love? Are there degrees of love? Are there levels of love? Do they rank in order? Was it God's design that we should love him, love ourselves, love our spouses, and together create a family structure to love our children? And is that an order of love? Or is that just a hierarchy of people? Is that the channel by which love should flow? So I believe we should just love, period, but is there an order to the love? Are there relationships that should have priority? Did God design it that way? Did he intend for it to be that way? Can you have the same level of priority for both your children and your spouse consistently? Ellen Pilot has joined. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff, Honey Pie. Carolyn Anderson Henderson, okay, as a single parent, we have to be careful what we allow or accept from the children. When bringing spouse or spouse to be, and it is important that the new person affirms the child as well as position. Good point. And Kellen, I said honey pie, you know, you always be honey pie, even though you're a grown woman with children. I love you. If I love you, I love you. And I try not to enter into a relationship with people who don't put the needs of others first in general. If we're not all looking out for each other, if we are all looking out for each other, no one is left behind. Habari Ghani, right? What's the news? Unity. Yes, we should all be looking out for each other, right? But are we to love everyone? Are we to love our children as Christ loved the church? Everyone to go by. Is the way in which we love our children, if it's equated to the way Christ loved the church, I mean, our spouse, the way that a man loves his wife, submits to each other as submission to the church to Christ, where does that leave the children? Because the children, or is that the same love that we model out to the children, we meet out to the children? I mean, you love, but should there be a priority that your husband is first, Ivo? And that your children are a byproduct of that love? And where they can't be because they were in existence before the husband, is there a collective love that makes the love that they get a byproduct of that collective love? I'm loving this replay and I'm loving your comments. And I want you to keep them going. Carmen Evans, I hope, will join us just right on time. She came into the studio, but she was right after the segment. So I'll delay the next segment just a little bit. And I hope that whether you're watching us on TikTok and they're like, what's happening? What's happening? Because they're not directly into the feed in the same way. YouTube events, Twitch TV, Twitter, Facebook, of course, and all the love groups that are there, and Instagram tonight. I hope that you will click share, tag 5 of your friends or followers, connections or subscribers, 5 of the more popular ones to join us in the discussion. Love's balance, spouse or children, who takes the front seat, who takes the priority, if maybe there isn't a priority, maybe they're different levels of love, maybe they're different priorities, they're in different spheres or different realms. I want to hear from you. We have had a lively and interesting discussion, and as you can see from the replay content, a lot of comments and different perspectives in the hopes to get you to think about your own and whether or not there is a rank and file, as you might have heard from the comments that Ivan said. Well, why do we have a rank and file? Why is there a ranking? Why is there an order? Is there an order? And you've heard some people say, absolutely, it is. God, spouse, children. I would augment that a little bit and say God, yourself, because I think self is the neglected love. We're trying to love people and we're not loving ourselves. That's just my first thought. But God, self, because all of the commandments hang on, these 2 commandments all the law and the prophets, Jesus said, hang on these commandments. One of them being love your neighbor as yourself. Okay. And so that self-love is key to how you're going to love the spouse anyway. So I think it's God, self, spouse, children. But my question is for those number of people who may have had children before they had the spouse, or they may be in a situation where they're going to be remarried. And so they don't have the same spouse, it's a new spouse. How does that work? And what is the balance, love's balance, when you're trying to establish, walk in, live in covenant, or maybe not in covenant, but live in covenant in a marriage with someone and you already have children in the family? How does that happen? Sometimes we see, and in particular in the African American diaspora, but in other diasporas, if you will, we see where sometimes if there is a single mother or single father, that child, particularly the opposite sex, might be treated as the man of the house or the woman of the house. There might be some out of the order. And how does that dynamic factor in when you bring in that spouse, right? And how do you set the priority that there is balance, that everybody is in their proper place, and maybe there isn't a ranking as much as there is a proper place. Things have a proper place, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the lamp in the living room is more important than the lighting in the dining room, or that one gets addressed before the other, but they have different we have different approaches to addressing their maintenance, their needs, their replenishment, their upkeep, which is their needs, right? We might have a different place for those things. I want to hear from you. Nicole Baldwin says, thank you, Tatiana, on TikTok, and thank you those of you that are joining Shine. Your comments, I'm going to be reading your comments, because until you get me to a certain number of followers, I can't put you into the restream feed. So help me get there. All right. Nicole Baldwin says children and spouse are 2 separate entities that have their own roles in the family. Yes. I think we're kind of saying something somewhat similar. I think that maybe it isn't a rank and order, right? It's just a different, call it sphere, a different realm, right? And maybe not as hierarchical as we think. Right. But I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about that balance, love's balance, spouse or children? Does it be either or? Who takes the front seat? Who takes the main seat? Who takes priority? Are there times where you will together prioritize the children above yourselves. You heard Arnaldo Jimenez, who is now teaching in Morocco. We're so proud of him and his family that are over in Morocco. At the time, he said, you know, if it came to us being hungry, we would prioritize our children. They're going to eat first. But if there are times, adult time, that we need, our kids are going to be taught to understand there is a priority for the time and needs as adults and spouses. And I thought that that was excellent. One excellent example from his real experience. I want to hear from you, whether you're watching us on YouTube event, Twitch TV, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, here on Facebook Live as we emanate from the Facebook community. And listen, if you're not connected to us on Facebook, shame, shame, shame on you. You should be connected to the Love and Stuff community page and click that notification bell. It will notify you whenever we're having great content just like this. And you will also be able to find out about great special promotions, products, and prizes that happen in the Love and Stuff community, and some really great quotes and other posts that happen there. And you'll get a chance to connect with some amazing people in our community, amazing business owners, small business owners who are doing amazing things, from baking to cooking to jewelry to credit repair. You get a chance to boutique. You get a chance to meet some amazing people. If you go under that page and go under groups and click inside Love and Stuff, you get a chance to join a group that stays on a self-care journey, because we believe the neglected love in part is the self-love. And so we're on a journey, and we're closing out this year's journey, but we're going into another year, 12 months of self-care, and you don't want to miss the opportunity to up your love game by loving yourself. We believe self-care is your love and your gratefulness speaking to your worthiness. And so we want you to join us there. But it's an amazing community. For those of you that are on TikTok, it is. And I want you to consider, you know, they're probably saying, what are you doing? But all of these platforms are amazing. And I just want you to know that the community that we are continuing to build, that we hope spreads across platforms, is one all about love, increasing the amount of love in the world, one person at a time, one life at a time. And I am the love activist. I'm advocating for better love for you and me, that our relationships improve, that our relationship with God improves, with ourselves improves, with our neighbors, with our family, with our loved ones, our kindred and acquaintance, if you will, and that special boo or babe that you're trying to bring into your life, that your love that emanates from the quintessential love, who is God, that your love that flows through him will flow to them. All right. So Carmen has joined us. I'm going to get her in here for a minute. Hello there, Carmen. How are you?
I'm fine. I was having issues.
That's okay. All right. Well, Merry Christmas, first of all,
Merry Christmas.
and
Happy
happy
holidays.
Kwanzaa. Yes,
Happy
yes,
Kwanzaa.
yes. So you had some wonderful comments the last time around, and they seem pretty consistent. So I wanted to dive into some of those comments, because you, one of your comments talked about, you know, someone who thinks differently probably hasn't had a godly relationship. I thought that was a pretty strong one. I think people who see it differently haven't seen a healthy godly relationship. What did you mean to convey there?
Well, I meant to convey is a lot of times when we talk about the order in a family structure, or when we talk about submissiveness, it's automatically thought of in a negative connotation.
Mm,
I think that when you are around a household, or when you have experience growing up in a house where order was set and there was a pecking order, if I can say it like that,
mhm,
you don't look at it in a negative way. You don't compare it to, oh, my children have to eat before my husband eat. Everybody is going to eat.
mhm,
However,
mhm.
there is an order.
Okay.
I think someone said the scripture where we submit one to another.
Mhm,
That's not in a sense where the order is taken out of order.
mhm,
Um, God is the head.
Mhm.
So, of course, everybody up under God is going to submit to him. But
Mhm.
then there's still an order that
Mhm.
the man is the head of the household and he goes to God on behalf of the household as him being the priest of the home.
Mhm.
The woman is to submit herself unto him. And
Mhm.
then it's the children.
Mhm. So I
I
want to
think
ask you in that reference because you're single. I'm not putting. I think you're single. I don't know.
I,
You
I
date,
am. I,
but you are
I'm
you dating?
single and ready to mingle. No,
Okay. You date you single or you dating single?
I'm single.
Okay. So you're
This
single
month.
single. Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna have to do another show on that. Take that in the new year. Okay. So you're single this month,
Mhm,
and you have adult sons. But when your sons were teenagers or young men, if you had
mhm,
met a man and you intended to marry him, you were engaged to
mhm,
marry him, how
mhm.
do you establish that order with your sons? Do you think that that pecking order that you describe, and I don't think it's a negative thing either. I'm with you. Pecking order is not a negative thing. Hierarchy is not a negative thing. It would only be when power is abused.
Mhm,
Somebody's power is abused to control people in a hierarchy. That's where we have a problem, right?
mhm.
But I mean, if we think about it, God lets us do all kind of stuff and he still loves us and still builds path for us to get back to him. So if that's the prototype, we all should be able to do that, right? But
Yes.
sometimes we get out, we think of hierarchy and power and struggle and we get it, we take the negative connotation. So I agree with you. But I think pecking order is fine. So how would you establish that with your sons? And how would you say to women that are like you single and ready and available today, or men that are the same way that have children? How do you establish that order?
I think there's a two-part answer to that, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think that we are constantly teaching young ladies how to be treated.
Hmm.
How a man is supposed to treat her, open the door for her, um, and stuff in that sense. I don't think we
Hmm.
put a lot of stake into our young men.
Mm.
So when I was single,
Hmm.
I treated my sons not necessarily like they was the head of the house, but I
Hmm.
treated them in such a manner that when they got to the point where, they were married, they
Hmm.
knew how a woman should honor them and respect them in their household.
Hmm.
So when it came to serving meals and stuff like that, I served my sons.
Hmm.
And then, I will fix my plate after I fix their plate and serve them. And then
Hmm.
we will all sit down and eat.
Hmm. And
Um,
I'm gonna just
but I
jump in there.
also talk,
I'm gonna
uh,
jump right in there because I think I'm the same, even though I don't have sons, I have Autumn. But I would fix Autumn's plate before I would fix mine. I wouldn't have her fix my plate. I would fix, sometimes she would volunteer. She's such a sweetie. She'd be like, Uncle, can I fix your plate? But I would fix her plate. I think that's just you being a parent, or were you trying to teach them something in particular?
I was trying to teach them something in particular.
Okay.
Um, but I also had the conversations with my son. Although these things are done for you at this moment, there will be a time that mama will have someone in her life and I will get married. And he will, you know, come before you guys in a sense where if I make his plate before you, they're not throwing tantrums. So I was preparing them all along that when my husband come, the dynamic of the household will shift.
Hmm.
Not that they will be less important or that I wouldn't honor them the same, but
Hmm.
there would just be a shift because now there is a new priest in the home.
Hmm. A new priest or a priest. When you
A
say new,
priest.
okay.
A priest.
Yeah, because what I think, Carmen, sometimes, not you, but sometimes there are mothers who make their sons the priest, or the sons think that they are the priest, and therefore it creates that kind of, well, wait a minute, that's my role. When a
And I
person
think that's
comes over, but I hear
because a
you
lot of
saying it.
times, I think that's a lot of times because you hear single women tell their sons all the time, you're the man of the house. You're the
Yeah,
man of the house.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that gives them a false sense of their position. If a priest was to come into the household. So
yes,
now they're bucking for power.
Yeah, I think though what you just described is excellent. I think you have this communication with them that you just
Mhm,
described having with your sons.
mhm.
Even if you kind of give them, because someone in the comments, Carmen said that, a man can't really, a woman can't really raise a man. Well, I agree and disagree. There are things that you can't
Mhm.
give to him, but you give a whole lot to him, because there would be a lot of
Yeah.
men, even though we got a crisis with men, there are a whole lot of women who did a heck of a job with what
Yes.
they had to raise men. But in
Yes.
trying to do that, it's a delicate balance, because if you make them feel like a man too soon, then there is this gap of where, okay, now I'm bringing somebody in. But what you say, I think, is excellent, that which we're always saying in Love and Stuff, it's communication, right? it's
Mhm.
it's managing the expectation that, okay, I'm trying to rear you as a man, but not to be my man. There's going to be
Yes.
another man that comes in,
Yes.
and he's going
Yes.
to assume the role that a husband would, and this is what it looks like.
Absolutely.
That's the
Absolutely.
conversation that I think is important, even for the inbox some years later, that women and men have to have with their children. Same thing for a man who treats his girl as a queen. She might
Mhm,
not, that poor woman tries to come in and be the wife. If he hasn't had a conversation with her to say, okay,
mhm.
now I've always, elevated you, but I want you to know the role
Mhm.
wasn't for you to be my queen in the sense that
Right.
a wife would be.
Yes, it's for you to grow into being someone's queen.
There you go.
You're my princess,
There you
but
go.
there is a queen that,
Yeah.
that's over the princess status. And that's the same with my son. When he got married, it wasn't hard for him to kind of shift in a sense where his wife cooked and his wife made his plate before she made her plate.
Hmm.
Um, and it just he accepted that role because that's what he's seen his mom
Hmm.
do for him, but not
Hmm.
just for him. If a man is in the room and he's in the house, if
Hmm.
he does not have a wife or a girlfriend in the room,
Hmm.
I'm just going to make his plate.
Got it. So, well, I'm gonna make sure I'm eating around you so I can get my plate made. But and I think that's great. I just wonder, and here's the other part of it, right, Carmen, which what you said, I think in this comment, I think it was interesting. You said the same thing in the replay, that if they aren't in order already, they're already out of order. So that some people will say, hey, I don't believe in the covenant marriage and that type of thing. So we're together in a relationship and we're not married, and I'm the man of the house. That requires a whole nother level of probably therapy, but a whole
Mhm,
nother level,
mhm,
because what you're saying is you have an entitlement to something that is really not just cultural,
mhm.
but biblical, right?
Ye-
And
yes.
so you kind of buck against it to say, well, it doesn't require marriage. Well, you'd have to point me to another document or something else that says that it doesn't, because if you say anything goes, then anything goes. And
Right.
that's what makes it hard for our children to see what is in order or not. And that's not
Right.
disparaging anybody that says that they don't believe in marriage. I'm just telling you, try it and see. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Try it and
Yeah.
see. Test,
Yeah.
prove me wrong that what love says, what love designed, he designed it, right?
Yeah.
And prove me that that is wrong. And we can have a discussion about that. But
Mhm,
outside of that, it might be harder to craft an order, but that's the order of the day. There are so many couples together that aren't married. And so it might be some against the grain for them to try to set an order, that pecking order where the children are like, what is this? Your boyfriend number five,
you're right.
you know,
Your uncle
who are
number
you?
5.
Or in some cases, and not to disparage, there could be 5 children
Mhm,
and there are 3 different fathers. And they're like, well, that's your father. That ain't my father. So,
mhm.
it's hard to set that order, maybe not as easy in that regard. So
And it's hard to ask our children to follow order or the orders that we give them when all we have shown them is being out of order.
yeah, yeah.
So sometimes we just have to sit back and think about the decisions and that we make. because we speak loud to our children when we are just out of God's order.
Okay.
You know.
Carmen, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go to
Thank
the next
you.
segment. I appreciate you. And tell us about Detroit Table Talk, what time it comes on so that we can watch. We love it.
We have Detroit Table Talk every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can follow us on Facebook on Detroit Table Talk. You can follow us on YouTube on Detroit Table Talk. Again, every Saturday at 5 p.m.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carmen. We'll be
Bye-bye.
right back. Thank you. Dwight says it should never be a competition. We all should play our roles. If you're not married, I don't think it applies that you put your mate before your children. If you are married, then yes, God first, then your spouse, your children. And loving God, you love yourself. That's what, come on, Dwight, this is your first time, but you didn't tuned in. Because loving stuff is about loving God, which we fall short of all the time. I'm testifying for me. And then he says, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, body, soul, all that stuff, right? And your neighbor as what? Yourself. So you got to love yourself in order to love anybody outside of God. You got to love yourself first before you even get to a spouse. Before you get to a bae, a boo, a honey, a boo thing, you got to love yourself. And I think you are onto something by saying, then from that love you marry, you find that person you marry, and then you love. You know, everything hasn't happened in that perfect order, though. People have loved and did the married thing before they were married. And so it puts a different order that you have to kind of reorganize, as Darcia said, so that it works, so that it isn't disorder. Kamal says the man is the head of the household. The person that comes first is the person that needs the attention at the time. Okay, great point, Kamal. Great point. The person that needs the attention at a time. So you're speaking more like Tanisha. It's more episodic. It appears more episodic. Darcia says, yes, love should flow based on God's design since he is love. Come on, he is. To know him is to love, is to know how to love our spouse and children. Come on, to know him. I'm gonna have to do that one too. Ruth Purnell, my cousin, has joined us. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff. Merry Christmas. Earlene Andrea Smith has come back to Love and Stuff. Thank you for coming back. You said you would. Merry Christmas to you. We're talking about the order of relationships. What is the priority? Is your husband first, then children? Are your children first, depending if they came? Does it depend on the situation? Is it circumstantial or episodic? Who needs the attention at the time? Or is it an overarching concept of priority, as Bible is saying? Does it have to be rank and file? Can you just love people? Does there need to be some order or structure to the love priority? Bible says, the scripture says that we should love all the brethren with unfeigned love, and we are to love others as we love ourselves. I believe that the only reason Paul had to explain that husbands should love their wives as Christ loves the church, because chauvinism and misogyny was so rampant culturally that it needed to be stated that women were not property but people. Okay, we're going to agree to disagree there. Who deserved all the love and care that Christ provides for his church. However, I do not believe it was about making a distinction between children and adults, but supporting women's rights because of how men have historically treated women. Yeah, I that's where I thought you were going, and I think we'll agree to disagree there. I think Paul was inspired and led to make a comparison of the relationships and the way in which love, respect, authority, all of that flowed in the relationship. Respect and authority to each other. There's some submission on both parts, right? And so I don't think it should be confused or should be likened to any other relationship. I think there are other places in the scripture that Paul speaks to fathers and children and mothers, but I think specifically here he was speaking about relationships and not just for the impact of culture, based on what was happening culturally, as you so articulately said. Just agree to disagree with you on that. But I think we should love all the brethren, but I don't think brethren is all encompassing for your husband or wife. I think that there are different types of love. And I think if we broke down the words where we see love, as you know, there are different meanings and usages for how those words were used. So I'll just agree to disagree with you on that. Hemingway has joined. Happy holidays, sir, and thanks for coming to Love and Stuff. Iowa says, I agree with that too, though, Marcus. Thank you. Judabomb.com. Well, not just for the impact of culture. Agreed. Okay. Risha Moore, thank you for coming to Love and Stuff. Merry Christmas to you. Carolyn Allen Henderson says, when I got married, it wasn't to the children's father, but this man accepted my children as his own. Their father remained in their lives. There were times we set for the children and times set as a married couple. Because he cared about my children's well-being, there wasn't competition. I understood they needed it, and I don't have a ... So I think the rest of it's coming. That's fantastic. It sounds like that the both of you took a mature position. And what I was trying to say earlier, Carolyn, is that when there is, it sounds like their father, you said their father remained in their lives, so they already had a defined role of the father, and I don't know to what extent, but think of children that don't have that defined role of the second spouse, how there could be competition because that role has never been defined. That was all that I was attempting to articulate. Yours is slightly different because it looks like their father was in their life, even though you all weren't married. So they already had the understanding of the order of what father was and what his role was, right? Of course, they had to be adjusted some with the father who took them in as his own, which I think is absolutely what a good man should do. If you marry a woman with children, those become your children, and you get an understanding with their father that you're co-parenting. But I think that's great for you. We're at 55 minutes into the show, so we got about 10 more minutes. We're going to go to about an hour and 5 minutes. Really going to try to hold to that, though the discussion has been great. Straight out of the inbox, what is the order of relationships? Does the spouse come first, or do the children come first? Is there an equal level for them? Does it depend whether or not the children came before the spouse? Does it depend whether or not there's a covenant or marriage? Because then that wouldn't be a spouse, right? But do these things factor into the order? Does there have to be an order? Has been raised in our Love and Stuff community tonight. Can't we just love the children, give them what they need, and we take the rest? Or we find balance, that they get what they need, we get what we need, and we decipher between what we need and what we want. What's the best mixture? What's the best advice we can give to someone who is deciding, who do I put first? My spouse, my new spouse, my children? And what might happen if you put one versus the other, and what should they look out for? Ava says, thank you for the discussion, Marcus. The nuances of these issues are very acute and are worthy of discussion. Well, I think it's very important because if we're going to advance, especially the African-American diaspora culture in these harrowing times of social injustice and inequality, the thing that we're missing besides the economic power base, like I was saying about 6 shows ago, if we had 1 million people who gave $1,000, we could buy our own NFL franchise team, hire Colin Kaepernick and anybody else that we wanted to play for next year and put them in place. And here comes P. Diddy, hearing my words in the atmosphere, because that's what happened. No, I'm teasing. Here he comes saying, I'm going to buy a team. So we lack the infrastructure for economic unified power, right? Because we got NAACP and we got SCLC and we got this group and we got Black Lives Matter. And none of them have come collectively together to be an economic force to be reckoned with, right? But the other assault that is happening as a result of these harrowing times of social justice inequalities, is the dismantling of the African American family unit. And in part, it's because we haven't designed or taken the design that's in place, according to Val, Darcy, and others. We haven't set the family structure in place so that we have these families, these tight-knit families that build communities, right? Everybody's saying, I don't want to live in Detroit. I'm going to the suburbs. And so we had to flight to the suburbs. But then what happened? Little by little, different things happened that kind of eroded the structure of the family. And the reality is every household doesn't have a man, wife, but every household could have order when it comes to relationships and priorities. And I think the more order we have, the more opportunity that we have to reinvigorate, to restore, to rejuvenate the Black family structure, which was critical in our passage to civil rights awareness. I'm not going to say civil rights victories, because we didn't do a good job of keeping those civil rights actions going, right? We had overcome, we thought. So I think that's key. And if we don't start with the family, I think we're going to be lost. Continued statement, they needed me and he did it about finding balance. I went off on a tangent, I apologize. Leon Wilson has joined us. Rebecca Jones has joined us. Merry Christmas and welcome to Love and Stuff. Ivor says the best advice, if you have kids, don't date someone who doesn't have kids. It's going to be an issue of both adults are not committed to the well-being of children. I disagree with that. Even though I have a 19-year-old, I wouldn't say you don't date someone who doesn't have kids. Don't date someone who, as you said, the latter part, who's not committed to the well-being of children. That's different. Yeah. Oh, you said doesn't love kids. Okay, you changed it. Thank you so much. When we don't establish order, it makes it hard to father a fatherless generation. That's what's happening. There are so many young men. Sometimes I want to punch some of them. Sometimes I want to hug them and then punch them, because you can tell they didn't have a father who said, no, you're not going to do that. Because their only point is to prove that they're as much man as I am. So when you try to correct them, even though they're grown and it's childish behavior, they're like ready to fight you, shoot you, kill you. And you're like, come here, I just want to hug you and then punch you. Because that's not the order. Or if I see sometimes young men mistreating young women, or mistreating elders, or mistreating children, in my mind I'm thinking, where is your father? Where is your father and mother structure? Because yes, there were always wayward kids. We've always disobeyed parents in some things. But there was a structure of how you conducted yourself that there's just no structure now. And it's because we don't have community. It's because that love isn't flowing out of the structure into the neighborhoods, into the communities. And if it's not in the single house, it's not going to be in 34 houses on a block. It's got to be in a single home, whatever the structure is, so that we can get it flowing to our people. Our people don't love each other because we don't love ourselves. We're not getting the love quotient from the order of God to self to others, how it should go. Poor connection. I'm sorry. Oh, I hope it stays. Sorry for the typos. I agree, Marcus. Thank you, Darcia. It's got to flow. And that's what I think is wrong in our communities. Yes, we've got people who do excellent work with young people. I'm thinking of people who work in sports and the coach and mentor, and it's a good supplement. But some of those boys go home to mothers who are disillusioned about the order of relationships, or go home to fathers who are disillusioned about the order of relationships. And so, as I often tell people, there's a group of young people I work with 1 hour a week. And I said, hey, I can't change them in 1 hour. I can spark something, but someone else is spending 167 hours with them. And it's not me. So I can only be one part of the solution. It's got to be a community approach to be able to reach them from a love and order standpoint. And I think that's key for children. What an excellent segment. And thank Carmen Evans for joining us for the segment as Nicole, I want to say, learned behaviors. I hope that if you're watching us on Facebook Live and all of the love groups that are connected to us there on the Marcus Our Homes page or the Love and Stuff community page from which we emanate, or if you're on TikTok with us live, on YouTube events, on Twitch TV, Twitter, or Instagram tonight. I'm wanting to make sure that on Instagram that you're seeing the comments, and if you're not, I'll have to work on the feed so that you can see the comments through the feed. But I want to make sure that you're there. And if you're tracking with me, if you're watching it all on Instagram, drop a comment so that I can make sure I can see your comments and have you included in this big love and stuff community that crosses all platforms. It is about upping our love game in the world, one person at a time. And I'm just grateful that we've been able to share in this love and stuff community with some amazing people and amazing topics, all of which I think are very important and relevant to what we do. I'm going to, for a quick break, to another one of our fantastic Love and Stuff community members, June Rochelle Eaton, who is the owner of Detroit Couture, and she also owns a bridal salon. So if you're thinking about getting married, or ladies, you want something very fashionable, summer, winter, spring, or fall, you need to give June Rochelle Eaton a call or go to DetroitCouture.com.
Hi, my name is June Rochelle, and I own Detroit Couture. We are a fashion forward women's boutique, and we offer friendly sizes from small all the way up to 3X women's sizes, very generously fit, very great quality. I actually have on one of our pieces today. It's called the Cuffed Up. It's in gray, burgundy, and black and olive, and it actually has a lot of stretch and give. So listen, in this time, we try to make sure that first of all, it's quality and customer service that we offer our clients. And I'm so glad to have this opportunity to share with you. So go and visit us at DetroitCouture.com.
DetroitCouture.com. Listen, they ship around the world, and you can go to their website and you'll find some amazing pieces, some of the one-of-a-kind pieces, and you will be so pleased. Fellas, go and shop for these. I know it's Christmas, but there's some after Christmas sales that you want to catch. You want to go to DetroitCouture.com. Ladies, you want that New Year's Eve outfit. You want to go, you got Martin Luther King coming up. You want to do something special for some event, some special time that's coming up. DetroitCouture.com. And we're going to thank June Rochelle Eaton for her partnership, along with the other amazing partners that we have in and around the Love and Stuff community. I told you this community has got some great people. This community has the top-notch preachers and educators. This community has the top attorneys and thinkers. This community has top musicians and songwriters and business owners, from fashion to chocolate body butter and everything in between. It is an amazing community, and I am so pleased and proud to be its facilitator. But I just get to facilitate the amazingness. I get to watch, like you, to see the amazingness that's happening. And so I want to encourage you to go to the Love and Stuff community page, click the notification bell so that when we go live and there is content, that you will see that content. It will help to lift your day. People say you very rarely post things that are negative, because I believe there's enough negativity in the world. I don't need to add a single thing to it. What I need to do is increase the amount of love, because we don't need another war. We got that going on. We don't need a fake president. We done had that going on. Sorry for those of you that don't believe that. We don't need more stealing or killing. We don't need more treachery or debauchery. We need more love. And so it is my desire, because I need more love in my life. And I've been blessed with a whole lot of love that's been given to me, that I got to pour out more as a reflection of what has been given to me, and help others to do the same. So it's all across all platforms, and we want you to join us by clicking share right now. Tag 5 people, 5 friends, 5 subscribers, 5 connections, 5 followers to join us in this Love's Balance spouse or children who takes the front seat. And this is the last segment of this replay, and I'll be right back. I'm in the comments with you, so keep those comments coming. Thank you, Carolyn Loving, my single Arlie, for joining us. To Mook Scruggs, thank you for joining us. Kamal Williams, Cheryl Swacker Conneal. Thank all of you that have joined on that platform. Louise Willingham, Maz, who says, I'm the best HR in the world. I just love that. That just warmed my heart. Shane Sutton and others. I hope that you will click share to have other folks join us in this segment. Garcia says the lack of family structure order makes it difficult for children to obey, recognize authority anywhere else, school, church, law enforcement, etc. You are absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And I often run into that. Just in the neighborhood or just at the store, different places. It's because when my Marcusology, when a man doesn't have that structure and order, he is always asserting that he is the structure and order. When you hear a man saying, I'm God, I'm king, I'm this, I'm that, he is asserting that because he hasn't had any structure where he's had to be subject to authority. Really. And so the way I think you inform that is by showing him structure, and showing him structure that works. Because especially with this generation, if you tell them something and it doesn't work, they're not going to listen to that. Faith works. God works. Holy Spirit works. So you got to show them things, principles, people that work, because they're looking for, okay, now you said follow Jesus and that don't work. Well, no, it's got to work for them to want to follow it. You said follow order and you can have a wonderful community. And if we do that and it works, if you say get a structure so that for the 10 blocks, you create block clubs and there are men on patrol and it's going to reduce crime. If that works, they'll continue to do it. If you say no senior over 70 on our block is going to have to shovel snow or do something, and you come together, if that's the order, it works. But if it's not, it won't. And people won't be subject to authority that they don't think works. Eloquent Weaver has joined as we're coming to our hour and 5 minutes, closing out to our show. From We Praise Radio, thank you, sir, for coming and checking us out. We're talking today about the order of relationships, straight from the inbox. The inbox wants to know, is your spouse first? Are your children first? Doesn't matter the order in which they came. So if you had children before you got married, do those children come first? Does the spouse then come first when he or she is introduced into the family setting? Doesn't matter. Can you just love people and give them what they need and everybody be happy? Or is there some genius thinking on the mind of God, whose ways and thoughts are higher above ours, that he intended, because he is love, for us to get engulfed and wrapped, enveloped, saturated by him, and then love ourselves, and then love others on the premise that there is some hierarchy and order, priority and ranking. And we've had great comments and dialogue along the spectrum, along the continuum of those relationships. And I think most importantly, and I know there are varying beliefs, belief systems, faiths, non-beliefs that are part of our Love and Stuff community, and we absolutely honor and respect that. We don't say that we agree with it all, but we honor and respect it, because it's a perspective that we believe God has allowed you to have, even if you don't believe God exists. I believe God loves you so much that he allowed you to come up with your own perspective as if it's something brand new. And because I believe his thoughts are so high above ours and ways are above ours, he designed for us to get engulfed and enveloped in him, because he is love. And that is a lifelong pursuit. I always do that because he is higher than but he reaches lower than. And for me, it is a daily, hourly, minute pursuit. Sometimes I get off on the exit and go the wrong way. But that's the ultimate pursuit, loving him. And then after I love him with all that I am, from that love, I learn to love me. And without those two, I don't think you have a chance at loving someone else. I really don't. But I respect that others may have different opinions. And then you love that spouse, because he designed, I think, for the spouse to happen before the children. And then you two collectively, in your awareness of God's love as it has manifested in your life and self-love, are able to place order in your family. But it's not always that clean and crisp, is it? Sometimes you have children before you get married. Sometimes you have children of a first marriage that ends in divorce, or unfortunately ends in death. For many, divorce is a kind of death. And so you go into a new relationship with children, and you have blended families. But as two mature adults who love themselves are able to come together and collectively define the order for this new family unit, having the appropriate discussions with the children so that they understand this order, I think you are making the opportunity to have a successful community, which is what we need, especially in the African American diaspora. We need families. Sure, blended families, single parent families, two household families, where the order is intact and where the love is flowing, so that it can reach communities. Communities of faith, communities of love, communities of hope, communities of work, so that we can make a difference in the African American community, particularly, which is being faced with harrowing social inequalities and injustice. Before we can even get our monies together, before we can operate in today's principle of Kwanzaa, being umoja, being unified, being in unity, got to unify our families so that we can move through these other principles. We can do some collective things. We can do some self-actualization, self-determination. I think it does start very importantly with setting an order for the love in your life and making the first order of business your pursuit and love of God.
Well, there is so much to minds and heads around there. Sandy Hudson, thank you for joining us. I'm so glad that you're here. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy New Year. And those of you that are watching on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitter, on Twitch, and on Instagram, love balance should have some order so that your life has some order, even though the love you give to a spouse isn't the same that you would give to a child. But they're interrelated, and they are interconnected, so that each understands how the love in that community, in that family, flows to every part of that family. And the more communication that you have around that, the better. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. It was a little bit of a longer show because I want to play parts of the replay so that we could have dialogue and discussion on it. And it's the last official show for the Love and Stuff community for this year. You will probably hear from us before the beginning of 2024, Lord willing, just to remind you that we invite you to join us on our 12-month journey of self-care. We believe that self-care is simply your gratefulness and your your gratefulness and your love speaking to your worthiness. A lot of times we're great at self care for other people, for our spouses, for our children. We're caregivers for our parents, our siblings. But what about you and I? We need a self care plan for us. And so we certainly have um, created a focus around that to ensure that if there is anyone who is intentional about taking better care, loving themselves, caring for themselves, from health to sleep to gratefulness to diet and nutrition to exercise, each month there is a different focus around self care. So we invite you to join us. All you have to do is go to the Love and Stuff community page under groups. You're going to click inside Love and Stuff and you'll join us on a journey. There is an ebook that's involved that has a monthly focus, and each month we have dialogue, have content around helping you to live out your self-care in the best possible way. And some people have taken their self-care to new levels, and you're going to be hearing from them in 2024 how this journey has impacted their self-care and their thought about the wellness that they deserve. You know, we've been through an entire pandemic. We've been through so many different things, and many people are struggling to stay afloat as it relates to emotional and mental wellness and safety. We want to help to power your journey in that area by having you join us. Let's walk together, walk it out together in self care. Tomorrow, Darren Williams for the year with Love in the Scriptures at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you don't want to miss the discussions that he is going to have. I know he's going to be talking about Kwanzaa because we're walking into Kwanzaa right now. And you don't want to miss this passionate educator who loves to bring information to us from an exploration of the scriptures and of our practices and beliefs. And I don't think that you will want to miss one after you join Darren with Love and the Scriptures. There's also a Love and the Scriptures group that you can join, and you'll hear more about that tomorrow. And then Sports Talk with Kamau and Felix in 2024. They are pulling out all the stops, and you know they are a bi-weekly sports show. Well, they have heard the Sports Talk group, and they're going to a weekly format. So they'll be every Saturday starting in January from 11 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, 12 noon. And these fellows love all things sports. Kamal Williams and Felix Holmes are the host of the show, and they have an extraordinary time talking about the relevant sports news, women in sports, NBA, playoffs, and stupid sports news. You don't want to miss that segment. They have all kind of great things happening. We love what's happening in the Love and Stuff community, and we do it for you. And so we hope that something that we share, something that we produce helps you to up your love game, helps you see some opportunity to increase the amount of love, the amount of love for the people you love, the things that you love, that you will increase that amount of love just a little bit. Our world will be a better place for it. And so I want to say Merry Christmas. As you see my blue spruce behind me, I love real trees. And I will say of my Christmas, I had a real tree with a real family, real food, real fun, real gifts, and real peace. And I hope that you experience the same and will experience the rest of this holiday season and beyond a very peaceful, joyful season. Happy Kwanzaa to you. And Happy New Year if I shouldn't see you in these Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok streets. And thank you for all of your support all year long. You make this worthwhile. I just want to remind you before we go that there is an initiative to support families, not just during the holiday, but year round. And we have two families in particular that we want to support. One is a single mother who has twin 1-year-olds and a 6-year-old, and a grandparent couple who have 5 grandchildren that they are now being tasked to raise because their daughter, who was only 34, passed away. there is any room in your heart and room in your pocketbook, and this resonates with you, scan that link. It will take you to our Shopify store where you can do a gift box. It's a virtual gift box of $10, $20, or $50, and you or more if you want to. You can do several to get up to the number you want. And those monies will be split between those two families to help them throughout the year as a rebuild new normals for them. I'm grateful for you. I am Marcus Holmes, the love activist. I'm advocating for a better love for you and me, a better love of God, a better love of self, and a better love of others. And if that resonates with you at all, then you are the gift that Love and Stuff community has been waiting for. We're ready to unwrap you and to showcase you to the world, because your brilliance, your love, your gift should be shared with others. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And right before we go, I want to give you the opportunity to see the gratefulness journey every day to transform your life in the next 30 days through the power of gratefulness. And MJ from Showers of Sunset says it as well as I could. So let's hear her say it as we hasten to a close.
Marcus, I want to congratulate you on Love and Stuff. I really want you to know that staying grateful and understanding the power of what it is to be operating out of a space of abundance and gratitude is the most important part of every journey of every day. So Marcus June, congratulations on this book. It's on Amazon now. That makes me so proud of you and your family and me and my family, and every single person around us gets it. So good on you for bringing it into the hands and the laps and the Kindles of all the people. Okay, so we're going to check it out. Can't wait to learn more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.